Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Good morning. Glad to be with you again. This is Reverend Michael Lavery. I'm just giving you some excerpts from my book, Lucius, A Soldier's Journey. And it's been an honor and a privilege to have you with us. And I've just enjoyed this immensely. And I want to thank you for your good questions. You come up with some really good questions. And I appreciate it. Glad to have you on board. Well, let's get started. We haven't got much time. We're going to take another big jump. We're going to jump again today. You'll remember there was the battle yesterday. We talked about the battle. We talked about Lucius's servant, Mark, his valet, was seriously wounded. His other servant, Arius, was also wounded, protecting the house and protecting Chloe. Two zealots who were fleeing from the battle took refuge in their house and took Chloe as a hostage. And Arius, in his attempt to deliver Chloe from the hands of these zealots, was wounded, but he'll be all right. Chloe took care of him. But now let's jump ahead several weeks. The soldiers have been assessed, the wounded men. 10 men were so critically wounded that they will not be able to return to active duty. So they are going to be sent back to Rome. And then, of course, they captured a zealot in the woodlands near Lucius's home. His name was Barabbas. They're taking him back in chains to stand before Pilate to be judged. And they're just waiting for the wounded men to be strong enough to make the trip to Caesarea from Capernaum. So now they're strong enough to make the trip. Lucius goes back to Capernaum with these wounded men. He brings back Barabbas. He meets with Pilate. He gives Pilate his assessment of the battle, and Pilate gives him another mission. He says, we've heard there's a possible problem in the northern Galilee. We've heard about this preacher who's out in the wilderness, and he draws thousands of people. And of course, this man could be a real threat to us. So I want you to go. I want you to listen to this man. I want you to hear what he's saying, and I want you to report to me as to what he's teaching, if he's fomenting sedition. I need to know these things. So Lucius really wanted to hear the teacher. Linda. Hi, Reverend. Hi, welcome back. Hi, Linda. Good to have you with us this morning. So now we're going to look. He comes home. When he comes back to Capernaum from Caesarea, he brings with him all the enslaved people who were taken into slavery. When he appeared before Pilate, Pilate said, "What would you want me to do for you? Since you won this great victory, what do you want as a reward?" And Lucius said, "What I want for a reward is that the people of Capernaum should be rewarded." Oh, Ethan Lee, good day. Happy to be here again. Good to have you, Ethan. Good to be here. Good to have you with us. He said, "I want three things for the people of Capernaum. Number one, I want all of their property that was confiscated from them in the last taxation, where they were robbed by the tax collector. I want all of their property restored. Number two, I want their children, their fathers, their brothers, their mothers who were taken into slavery to pay their tax debt. I want all of them restored. And number three, I want permission to stand over the tax collector at the next tax assessment, and woe unto the tax collector who tries to cheat the people of Capernaum, because my wrath will be upon them." Ah, Paul, good morning. Finally, Lucius gets to meet the teacher. Yes, we're almost there. So Pilate acquiesces to these things, and Lucius comes back with a wagon load of people from Capernaum who were taken into bondage because their families could not pay their exorbitant tax debt. So, of course, Lucius has Pilate write a decree, and he has Gaius stand in the town center and read the decree, and then they free these people. And of course, there's great rejoicing. And everybody knows it wasn't the benevolence of the governor that did this, but this was the work of their beloved Lucius, who they loved. So now Lucius goes home and he finds a horrible thing. Arius has taken ill. They call in the doctors, and the doctors assess Arius's condition, and Arius is terminally ill. The sickness he has, there is no treatment, there is no cure. Several soldiers had gotten this illness, and most of them only lived maybe 6 weeks, and then they died. So this is horrible news, and it's devastating to Lucius, and it's devastating especially to Chloe, who dearly loves Arius, and to Lucius's other servant, Mark, who is Arius's brother. And Mark is helping, and in the process of helping, he's reopened his wound again, and he's in bad shape. So things are pretty bad. But the rabbi in town hears that the teacher is going to be preaching like 7 to 10 miles outside of Capernaum. So he tells Lucius if he would like to hear the teacher, he is welcome to come with his family and himself, because they were going to go hear the teacher preach. So this was a perfect setup for Lucius. But Bruce, good morning, Bruce. Good day. Another interesting session on Lucius. Yes, sir. So now he says, "You can come with me and my family." Of course, he doesn't know about Pilate's mission for Lucius. Lucius decides, we're going to go with the rabbi and his family, but we're not going to dress in our uniforms. We're not going to take any swords. We're not going to take any battle daggers. We're not going to take any type of weapon. We're just going to dress in a nice clean tunic. They were going to dress like Romans, and they were going to go to hear the preacher preach. Nicole, good to see you today, Reverend Michael. Good to see you, Nicole. Good to have you. So they're getting ready to go. They're getting ready to go on their way, and Chloe is just upset. She tells Lucius he's foolish. You're going to go to hear this preacher. You don't know anything about him. You don't know anything about this teacher. For all you know, he could be a zealot. And here you're going to go. You're going to go dressed in your Roman finery, dressed like a Roman. You're not even going to have any type of weapon with you to protect yourself. And this teacher could look at you and say, there are Romans, kill them. And the whole crowd could descend upon you and Gaius and kill you both. And Lucius said, that's just, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's a chance we're going to take. Lucius is truly an honorable man. Frida Green said that. Yes, he is. So the rabbi comes, and the rabbi comforts Chloe and says, listen, I am so sure that your master Lucius is going to be safe, that I'm going to have him give orders to the man in command of the garrison in his absence, that if anything should happen to him, I'm to be crucified. Because if I let anything happen to Lucius, I should be crucified. So we see here that even the good rabbi puts his life on the line. That's how sure he is that Lucius will be safe. So the day comes, and we're going to pick up. They're getting ready to go and hear the teacher. And they're getting ready to go on their way. And we're going to pick it up. All right. Here we go. Let me see. All right, here we go. Well, they walk up to the rabbi's house. They approach the rabbi's house, and they could see several people already gathered. As they came nearer, everyone greeted them with joy. Suddenly, the door of the house swung open, and out bounded a little girl. Lucius estimated the child to be 6 or 7. She ran right up to Lucius and Gaius. I bet you are my papa's 2 Roman friends. Well, we are Roman, and we are your papa's friends, so I guess that would be us, Lucius answered. The little girl bowed. I am Esther. I'm 6, but I feel much older, she concluded. Well, I think you look much older, Gaius agreed. The little girl stood straight and tall, a broad smile across her face. Do you really think so? She questioned. I like you. I'm happy you are walking with us today. Just then the door opened again, and out stepped the rabbi. I'm so glad to see you both. I see you have met my very quiet and shy daughter. With that, everyone gathered broke into laughter. Esther, this is Commander Lucius. And General Gaius, the rabbi said by way of introduction. Esther bowed again and told her papa how very handsome they were. Go help Mama now. We must be on our way. Yes, Papa, the little girl answered and skipped off. I hope she was no bother to you, the rabbi said. None at all. She was rather delightful, Lucius laughed. The rabbi excused himself for a moment and went into the house. When he emerged with his wife and Esther, they all bore packs upon their backs. Lucius and Gaius only bore a small pack. Nicole Gullery, Pilate is not all that bad. He actually listens to Lucius. Yes, he does. And he respects him greatly. Of dry fruit and a water skin. They both offered to lighten the burdens and carry some of the packs. The rabbi's wife reluctantly but gratefully agreed, and the small company was off at last. As they made their way through the heart of the city, more people joined the throng. As they left the city, it seemed to Lucius that most of Capernaum was making its way into the wilderness. The day was beautiful. A gentle breeze off the Galilee made the temperature most pleasant. Several miles outside of Capernaum, the landscape became a mass of rolling hills. As Lucius looked ahead, he could see the small tributaries that intersected the main road were all crowded with human traffic. He wondered, could all these people be headed to the same destination? Lucius marveled at the joyous atmosphere. Any fear he and Gaius might have had quickly was dispelled. No one cared that they were the dreaded Romans. A sense of brotherhood and singleness of heart pervaded the ever-growing throng. People sang. Never in his life had Lucius ever seen such a unity of hearts. He struggled to make sense of something he thought he would never see. Then he saw people bearing litters, upon which lay the sick and the crippled. On the fringes of the throng, Lucius could make out lepers, the walking dead, in gauze from head to foot. As Lucius scanned the crowd, his eyes lit upon an elderly man. The man had strapped to his back a woman pale and gaunt. The man was exhausted, and Lucius could see he was at his strength's end. Lucius turned to Gaius. Do you think you could manage my burdens as well as your own, good friend? Gaius nodded. Is something wrong, Commander? Lucius directed his gaze to the faltering old man. That man cannot go on. I must help him if I can, Lucius said. Having given Gaius his pack, water skin, and parcel, he made his way toward the struggling pair. As Lucius approached, the old man fell to his knees. He struggled mightily to regain his footing, but could not. The woman cried aloud, Isaac, please stop. You can go no farther. But I must, cried the old man. I must get you to the teacher. As Lucius came up to them, he called out, Good people, can I be of help? Beholding his dress, the couple knew that Lucius was Roman. You're Roman, the man exclaimed. Yes, I am, answered Lucius. But I want to help if you'll let me. The man smiled. I would be most grateful for your help. The man undid the belt that fastened the masterfully made harness to his chest. Once undone, Lucius slid the woman out of the harness, placing the woman in the shade of some scrub brush. Lucius went back to help her husband. Lucius helped the old man to his feet and led him over to where his wife reclined in the shade. The man had a water skin about his neck. Lucius removed it and gave them both a long drink. Rest here a few minutes before we continue, Lucius suggested. Where are you coming from? Lucius inquired. Our small village is to the north of Chorazin, the old man answered. That's 10 miles, Lucius answered, surprised at the old man's endurance. My son insisted upon coming along to carry his mother, but we had several orders that had to be filled, and his hands are more nimble than mine. I really thought I could make it. In my youth, it would have been a short walk, but I fear I am no longer a youth. What is your profession? Lucius inquired. I am a leathersmith. Clothes, harnesses, leaders, anything made of leather. Lucius held up the harness. I wondered where you had gotten this harness. It's exquisitely made. After several minutes had passed, Lucius began to put on the leather harness. With my lady's permission, I will carry you the rest of the way. The old man spoke up. Forgive me, good Roman. I am Isaac, and this is my wife Elizabeth. Lucius was about to introduce himself when the woman spoke up. I know you. You are that Roman from Capernaum. You have a friend. His name is Gaius, I believe. You are Commander Lucius, are you not? Lucius stood in stunned silence for a moment. I am Lucius, my lady. How do you know me? The woman laughed and sighed. You have a reputation throughout Galilee. You are known for your courage, virtue, and for being just. Lucius was taken aback. He had no idea that anyone had the slightest knowledge of himself or Gaius. Once Isaac had helped his wife into the harness, they were off again. The woman whispered to Lucius, Good Roman, I hope I am not too heavy for you. Lucius laughed. My lady, I have carried packs heavier than you for many miles. In a short time, the woman had fallen asleep. Her husband drew her hood over her face. Lucius could not help but notice tears in the old man's eyes. "Why are you sad?" Lucius inquired. "My wife is dying, good Roman. We have been to many doctors. They all have the same story. Nothing can be done. I have heard the teacher before and have seen his miracles. Perhaps he can give my Elizabeth back to me." In a moment, Lucius thought of his beloved Arius. He had heard rumors concerning this man, but up until now, he had no way to validate any of the reports. "What do you think of this man?" Lucius asked. "No man ever spoke like this man. No man ever has done the miracles this man has done. I believe this man is the Messiah, the deliverer of Israel." "Do you believe he has come to deliver you from the oppression of Rome?" The old man laughed out loud. "My dear friend, I believe if that were his sole mission, we would already be delivered. Israel has much more to be delivered from than simply the Romans." The old man's answer shocked Lucius. The old man went on. "Since the day Moses led our people out of Egypt, we have been a stubborn, rebellious, and stiff-necked people. We have scoffed and failed to keep the law God entrusted to us. When we entered this good land, God promised he would preserve us if we obeyed his law, but we did not. So God led us into captivity at the hands of the Babylonians and the Medes and the Persians, then the Greeks, and now the Romans. Our sin and rebellion are the causes of our present trouble. If the Messiah has not come to deliver you from Rome, then what has he come to deliver you from?" Lucius inquired. "Ourselves," came the short, emphatic answer. Soon they again could make out the crowd ahead of them. People seemed to be entering a natural theater nestled in the midst of the rolling hills. As Lucius entered with Isaac and Elizabeth, Lucius was momentarily overcome by the sheer size of the crowd. Lucius looked to see if he could find a place for Isaac and Elizabeth. As he scanned the crowd, suddenly he saw a woman beckoning to him. They carefully made their way to the woman, who joyously invited them to join her family. Lucius and Isaac carefully got Elizabeth comfortably situated. Then, thanking the good woman for her invitation, Lucius explained how he had traveled with his friend and the rabbi from Capernaum and wanted to find them if possible. Isaac shook hands with Lucius, took Lucius by the hand, shook his hand, wishing him well. As Lucius turned to leave, he felt a small hand clasp his. He turned and looked into the eyes of Elizabeth. "Good Roman, I have heard many things about you, and now I've seen you for myself and know the half of your virtue was never told me. May your heart find peace, and may you find answers to all your questions." Elizabeth then kissed his hand. Lucius smiled and gently stroked her cheek. "Thank you, good lady," he whispered. Lucius looked up at what appeared to be an endless sea of humanity on every side. He scanned the crowd, wondering if he would ever be reunited with Gaius and the rabbi's family. Suddenly, Lucius heard a familiar voice. "Lucius, we're over here." Lucius looked up to see Gaius and little Esther waving wildly. Although addressing an officer by his name was a breach. "Oh, Ethan Lee, Lucius has the makings of a good politician." He perhaps even better than Governor Pilate. I think he does too, because he has pathos. He understands people. He cares about them. It's not just a question of, well, I'll care about you if you vote for me. He really does care about people. It was a breach of proper military protocol, but Lucius was glad Gaius did not shout out, "Commander Lucius." Knowing ranking Roman military men were in their midst might be a source of apprehension for some. Lucius made his way through the crowd until at last he came to Gaius and Esther. "Welcome back," Esther shouted excitedly. "Gaius told us what you were doing. I think you and Gaius are the best Romans ever." Gaius and Lucius and the rabbi's family laughed heartily. "Gaius, I think we should take Esther with us the next time we report to our superiors," Lucius suggested. Lucius sat down, refreshing himself with some water and a few dried pieces. Suddenly, Lucius could sense an excitement, tension coursing through the crowd. Then a voice cried out, "There they are!" Lucius looked up to see a small group of men atop a high hill. Then from the midst stepped forth the teacher. Though Lucius stood a good distance off, he still had a good view of the man. He was a man of average height and frame, but Lucius immediately could tell he was tough and a rugged individual. Though he could not see his hands, he knew they were calloused. This man was no stranger to hard work. His body was well muscled in proportion to its size. He stood for a moment and scanned the massive crowd. As he turned his head, his gaze met with that of Lucius. The image of the teacher's face was burned indelibly into his mind. His eyes were dark and piercing, even as Claudia had described them, yet his face had a tenderness that reminded him of Chloe's expression as she tenderly cared for her beloved Arius. The teacher had not yet opened his mouth to speak, and Lucius already felt as if his heart had been pierced by many darts. Lucius watched the teacher with great intensity. As he stood and he scanned the crowd, Lucius's keen eye noted constant subtle changes in his facial expression. It seemed as the teacher scanned the crowd, he could feel their every emotion. Pain, sorrow, doubt, loss, searching. He was affected by all. The teacher raised his hands and the huge crowd fell dead silent. Lucius noticed even the birds stopped singing. The teacher's voice rang out, "Blessed are the humble in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God." Then the teacher looked directly into the face of Lucius. Lucius felt as it were his heart stopped beating. Those piercing eyes locked with his. Then the teacher spoke, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Lucius the Roman, commander of the garrison in Capernaum and decorated warrior of the empire, stood before the teacher with tears coursing down his face. At that moment, Lucius came to grips with a truth. The teacher was no ordinary man. From that moment on, Lucius was focused on the teacher, and he was unaware of anyone around him. It was as if Lucius were alone, and the teacher spoke only to him. At one point during his sermon, a man cried out, "Lord, teach us to pray as we ought." The teacher lifted up his eyes and his hands toward heaven. The words he spoke shook Lucius to his very core. "Our Father, which is in heaven, holy is your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins as we should forgive those who've sinned against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen." Never had Lucius heard such a prayer. It was indeed a living prayer, not made to an idol, the device of a man's imagination. Oh, we have Selma here, and she says the influence of Lucius's father on his values adds depth to the story. Can you elaborate on the significance of incorporating family relationships and the impact of upbringing and shaping Lucius's character? It had everything to do with shaping Lucius's character. His views on slavery were directly correlated with his father's. his view of justice and ruling justly and treating people justly, and that all people deserved rights, and that nobody should be literally smashed under an iron fist, but helped with an open hand. All these things were taught to Lucius by his father. So yes, his father had a very, very deep impact on him. The faithful reassignment that puts Lucius on a collision course with the one who is the truth sounds intriguing. Can you provide any insights into the development of this plot point and its significance in the overall storyline? Yes. Lucius is a man seeking for truth. And it's providential that this reassignment came, because it would put him on a course with the one who is the way, the truth, and the life. And as we can see, as he's here at the Sermon on the Mount, the words of the teacher are profoundly affecting him. And we're going to see in future booths how they change him completely. So bear with us. We're moving right along here. Well, I'm out of time. As a matter of fact, I'm 1 minute over. It's been good to be with you today. Great questions, by the way. I love your questions. They're wonderful. Great questions. The book is Lucius, A Soldier's Journey. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and from our friends at Reader's Magnet. You can also follow me on my webpage. All you have to do is look on the Festival of Storytellers, and it will give you all my information on my webpage. Oh, it's been so good. This half hour goes so fast. I enjoy it so much. I don't know about you, but I enjoy it so much. It goes so fast. So God bless you. Be back tomorrow, same time, and we'll continue with Lucius as he listens to the Sermon on the Mount. All right. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye now.